Hey, welcome World Entertainment, and it seems like it was forever ago when this story started doing the rounds about Jim Carrey possibly playing George Jetson in a live-action Jetsons movie. Well, we now have it official. It's confirmed. It's happening. And this came directly from a shareholders meeting with Warner Brothers. So, it looks like Jim Carrey will in fact be portraying George Jetson in a live-action Jetsons movie. So, let's take a look at this, because this is the first update we've had since those rumors came out, which was like a year ago, maybe even a bit longer. But yeah, people do seem to be actually interested in this. Last time I did videos on this, the reaction to it seemed to be pretty good. So, it's saying here, rumors first popped up last fall that Warner Brothers was bringing the Jetsons to the big screen in live action, no less. Now, the one thing, before I go on, the one thing I will say is I don't recall it being from Warner Brothers. I thought they were just kind of talking about a movie. I don't remember them actually saying what studio it was from. Probably did, but I can't remember. But as you can see now, it's official that it is coming from Warner Brothers, which is also interesting. But they've now announced this while the takeover is technically on hold right now from Paramount, but it's going to happen. It's going to clear. Everyone has given it the go-ahead except these dumbasses that are trying to block it because they think it's going to be a bloody Trump company. So the studio enlisted Jurassic World Dominion's Colin Trevorrow to direct, with Jim Carrey reportedly eyed the lead as George Jetson. Now, nearly a full year later and without any significant updates, Warner Brothers has confirmed the existence of the project in a 9-page letter to shareholders. The letter also confirmed that Carrey is locked in to star. I would put that down as, that's a pretty significant update. So why you're saying there's no real significant update, except Warner Brothers has confirmed the movie and that Jim Carrey's a lock, I think that's a pretty significant update. So the update was likely meant to calm nervous investors as legal battles over Paramount's buyout of the studio drag on, a mess that could easily stretch well into 2027 and push back major timelines. Now, the way that's been spoken about there, I know what they're trying to say, but they're also a little bit wrong, because even when Fox, the deal was going with Disney and stuff, the company still operated normally. Warner Brothers is doing the same thing. They're still going to operate normally. Now, from what I've understand and have seen reported, is that David Ellison does have veto power. Even though he doesn't technically own Warner Brothers yet, he does have veto power over big tentpole movies and franchises. And I think it's only franchises, so the likes of this shouldn't be a problem, because, it's a franchise via a cartoon from the 70s and stuff like that, compared to, something like from DC. So, the letter reads, beyond 2027, the slate will continue to leverage iconic intellectual properties, including theatrical events, films, Argon's Conquest. That's the Game of Thrones one. From the Game of Thrones universe, which, does anyone really want that? Because the shows are really shit in the bed right now, which is unfortunate. The next installment of The Matrix, the next Batman film, and a live-action Jetson film starring Jim Carrey. So there's the confirmation that the Jetsons with Jim Carrey is happening. So, the Matrix one is interesting as well. Like, why are they trying that again? Carrey has previously echoed thoughts on retiring from acting, but he subsequently returned for a third Sonic film, with a fourth in development. Now it looks like he'll also be playing the head of the Jetsons family. Yeah, it's interesting. He's tried to retire a few times. He did actually technically retire before the first Sonic movie came about. That was him coming out of retirement. And now, of course, He's talking about wanting to do sequels to The Mask. He's talking about doing the sequel to The Grinch, which I think was confirmed that they are moving forward with that one. So yeah, he really is kind of looking back at, okay, let's do these things. So the Jetsons, of course, are a classic era Hanna-Banana cartoon from and futuristic counterpart of the Flintstones. The series followed married couple George and Jane Jetson, their daughters Judy, son Elroy, and robotic maid Rose, plus their Scooby-Doo-like dog Astro. The show was set in the early 2062, exactly 100 years from when the series first aired in 1962. That's a bit scary, isn't it, when you look at that? It's set exactly 100 years from now, basically, for when it was made. So, set high above the ground in Orbit City, the show poked fun at typical 1960s suburban life, despite being set in a world of flying cars and robotic AI helpers. At the center of the chaos was George, constantly walking on eggshells around his blowhard boss, Mr. Spacely, at Spacely Space Sprockets. However, beneath all the sci-fi flair, The Jetsons was really just a classic family comedy about surviving bad bosses, tech glitches, and daily home drama. And kind of just goes on and on a little bit about that stuff. But people, as I said, do seem to be interested in this idea. Because when we were covering the stories originally about the rumours of Jim Carrey playing George Jetson, like, the videos got great views and stuff, and people's response to it was like, this could be a lot of fun. So, and it's funny because at that time he was also getting rumoured to, like, well, he wasn't getting rumoured, I think it was a director or a writer saying they would love to see Jim Carrey play Freddy Krueger. And of course, there's now this confirmation that they are remaking A Nightmare on Elm Street again. And straight away, there's people already going, hey, Jim Carrey? Is Jim Carrey going to be Freddy? So, you know, it really is this kind of interesting take right now of he's going to be in Sonics. He's in Sonics. I said Sonics because of the older movies, and not just the next one. He obviously could be and seems to be returning as the Grinch for a sequel to that. He's looking and talking about The Mask 2 or 3 or 4 at this stage, whatever technically would be. I would assume they would just retcon all the garbage that came after the first one and just do a proper sequel, which they should. Did you ever see the second movie? Whew! What was it called? The Son of the Mask or something? Jesus, that thing was bad. But he's talking about doing that. I think if he does those sequels and he does these movies, I wouldn't put it past a high probability that we could finally get a Ace Ventura Pet Detective 3 and watch all the little left hardies go and have a meltdown with what kind of character he is. But him as George Jetson, I think that is a good fit. I think he would be perfect for that role. And then of course the question is, who gets flushed out as the rest of the cast around him, and when can we expect this movie? That I think right now is the question. But it's seemingly confirmed Jim Carrey is locked in to play George Jetson in a live action The Jetsons movie from Warner Brothers. So let me know what you guys think of that news. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, you know the drill. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.